5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
This is About Space, America's return to space, with news and information on our U.S. space program. Is your host of About Space, David Denault.
Welcome and thanks for joining me today as we are just 2 days away until the Perseverance Mars 2020 rover lands on the Red Planet. Our Space Coast news editor, Dawn Meyer, will have a report on the extra care that's been given as to not to contaminate the samples collected from the Martian soil. Next on About Space Today. Are you ready to fly away on a dream vacation? For cruises and all-inclusive resort vacations, call D&D Cruise and Tours at 877-747-8631. That's 877-747-8631. And see us on Facebook, D&D Cruise and Tours, where your dreams become a reality. Welcome back. With more on how the samples will be collected and protected from contamination is Dawn Meyer from the Space Coast.
One of the key elements for NASA's Perseverance Mars rover once it reaches Mars will be to collect samples of Martian rock, soil, and dust for returning to Earth on future missions. Scientists need to be confident that any signs of ancient life they might observe in the samples returned to Earth are actually from Mars, not contamination of the system from Earth. Thus, Perseverance's sample caching system had to be the cleanest set of components humankind has ever launched into space, including the tubes that the samples will be stored in. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory met that challenge. Perseverance team members Ken Farley, project scientist, Katie Stack Morgan, Deputy Project Scientist, Ian Clark, Assistant Project Systems Engineer of Sample Cleanliness, and Thora Maltese, Contamination Control Engineer, explain the painstaking steps that were taken to ensure the cleanliness of the system within the rover as it was prepared for its July 30th, 2020 launch.
We are working on something that is the cleanest we've ever really attempted to send into space.
The Perseverance mission has as its central goal astrobiology and also being the first step in Mars sample return. We're going to collect a suite of samples, about 35 samples, that each weigh about 15 grams.
And the reason we collect those intact samples is that we are the first mission that's part of Mars sample return, and it's our job to collect the samples intact to be brought back to Earth for further analysis.
To better assess the question of, was there life previously on Mars? Inside the belly of the rover sit a number of sample tubes and an entire adaptive caching assembly that is used to help collect these samples.
Extraordinarily complex robotic system. And to make it even more complicated, it has to be super clean. We don't want to have these samples come back from Mars and discover life in them, but then realize, oh, that's life that was in the apparatus when we sent it to Mars.
That was a big challenge for the mission because we were meeting cleanliness standards that no rover mission has ever had to meet before.
The requirements that we have for this mission are extraordinarily challenging.
Having these very strict controls and this record of how much contamination or how clean these tubes are prior to going to Mars is essential for that return sample science.
Great discoveries require remarkable evidence, and so the cleanliness of the sample tubes and of all of the hardware that's going to be collecting those samples is paramount in making sure that the evidence and that the story and that the discoveries that come from these samples that are brought back are irrefutably Martian.
The Perseverance rover is set to land on the surface of Mars on February the 18th, a future mission which involves a collaboration between NASA and the European Space Agency will return the samples to Earth around 2031. I'm looking forward to that February the 18th landing of Perseverance on Mars. From the Florida Space Coast, this is Dawn Meyer for About Space Today. Back to you, David.
Join Dawn and the entire About Space Today crew this Wednesday to see and hear, for the first time, an American spacecraft land on another planet. Check our Facebook page, aboutspace.today, for landing details. And remember to invite your family and friends to listen to our podcast and follow us on Facebook at aboutspace.today. And to our many friends in the U.S. and around the globe, thank you for listening, and be safe during these wintry days. I'm David Denault, and this has been About Space Today.